My mother always loved a challenge. I just never imagined I'd become one. My name is Ryan Turner. I'm 22, recently graduated, and still parked in my childhood bedroom while I figure things out. The plan was simple: land a graphic design job, save money, move somewhere exciting. Instead, I was stuck in our quiet suburban house with its white fence, trimmed hedges, and a mother who believed every crisis in life could be solved with contour and confidence. On the surface, I was ordinary, quiet, easygoing, gamer, the kind of guy who blended into the background. I had a girlfriend, Emma, who was bold where I was hesitant, sharp where I was soft. I still didn't quite understand what she saw in me. And then there was the secret. Hidden behind old college binders in my closet sat a collection of clothes that weren't meant for me. Or at least, that's what I told myself. A skirt I'd bought in secret. A blouse that felt like water against my skin. Lipstick carefully wiped clean and returned to its place. It hadn't started as anything dramatic. Just curiosity. Then comfort. When I dressed up alone, the world seemed to quiet. The tension I carried in my shoulders eased. It wasn't about shock or thrill. It felt like stepping into alignment with something I couldn't name. So I buried it. Until last Sunday. I was at the kitchen table pretending to search job listings when my mom strolled in, coffee in hand, studying me like she'd cracked a code. "You know," she said casually, "you have a very pretty face." I nearly choked. "Thanks." "No, I mean it." Soft features. Great brows. If I had your bone structure back in the day, I'd have ruled the 90s. I laughed. She didn't. "I bet," she continued, setting down her mug, "that I could give you a full makeover and no one would guess you were a guy." My stomach dropped. "That's random." Her smile turned knowing. "Is it? I've noticed things. Lipstick that vanishes. The way you handle silk like it's sacred." Heat rushed to my face. "I'm not judging," she added gently. "I'm just confident." Then came the challenge. "If I win our next Scrabble game, you let me give you a complete makeover. 1 hour. No complaining. And if I win, I drop it forever." She had never beaten me at Scrabble. She beat me with Effervescent, on a triple-word score. The next afternoon, I stood outside her bedroom door feeling like I was about to step off a cliff. I could have backed out. Invented an excuse. Called Emma. Pretended to be sick. Instead, I knocked. Mom opened the door with a grin that said she'd been waiting. Her room smelled like perfume and coconut lotion. Makeup covered the vanity in careful rows. On the bed lay a pale blue wrap dress, nude heels, a matching set of undergarments, and a long chestnut wig styled in soft waves. "This feels like overkill," I muttered. "If we're doing this," she replied, "we're doing it properly." I sat. I expected teasing, laughter. Instead, she worked with quiet concentration. Foundation blended across my skin. Blush brushed my cheeks. Her hands were steady, almost reverent. "You don't have to be afraid," she said softly. "I'm not." She met my eyes in the mirror. "You're scared, but you're also ready." The truth hovered between us. "You've practiced," she observed after a while. "I can tell." I swallowed and nodded. Instead of smirking, she squeezed my shoulder. "Thank you for letting me in." That nearly undid me. No mockery. No disappointment. Just acceptance. She lined my eyes carefully, mascara lifting my lashes. The wig came next, pinned and brushed until the reflection staring back began to shift. Not into someone else, but into something that had always been waiting. When she finally stepped aside, I looked. The face in the mirror was soft, elegant, undeniably feminine. The dress hugged in the right places. The heels forced my posture upright. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. "You see?" Mom whispered behind me. "Stylish daughter." I didn't laugh. Because what unsettled me wasn't how convincing it looked. It was how natural it felt. The lipstick was the final touch, a dusty mauve that softened my mouth and made it look fuller, almost fragile. When Mom told me to open my eyes, I did, and forgot how to breathe. The person in the mirror wasn't just different. She was beautiful. Not in a costume way. not in a clumsy, obvious way. My eyes looked larger, framed perfectly by mascara. The blush carved out cheekbones I'd never noticed before. The lipstick gave my expression a quiet delicacy that sent a jolt of fear straight through me. Mom stepped back, admiring her work. "Not bad for round one," she said proudly. "Now, let's finish the transformation." The dress felt strange at first, light, fluid, sliding over my skin in a way that made me hyper-aware of every breath. She adjusted the bra carefully, smoothing everything until my silhouette looked natural. Then she lifted the wig and settled it onto my head. The moment the soft curls brushed my cheeks, something shifted. This wasn't just makeup anymore. I looked convincing. When I faced the full-length mirror, a soft gasp escaped me. A girl stood there, hesitant, pretty, wide-eyed. "Me?" "Well?" Mom asked gently from behind me. "I don't." My voice wavered. "I didn't think it would look like this." "Like what?" "Like a daughter." She didn't tease. She just smiled quietly. The next hour felt unreal. She had me walking up and down the hallway in heels, correcting my posture, reminding me to slow my steps. I nearly twisted an ankle twice. She laughed, but not cruelly, more like a coach watching a rookie find their balance. "Confidence is everything," she said. "Own the room." I rolled my eyes, but I loved the way she said it. Then she reached for her phone. "Wait," I blurted, stepping back. "No pictures." She paused, then lowered it. "Okay, I understand." But the way she looked at me told me she knew this wasn't temporary. The doorbell rang. Every muscle in my body locked. "Probably a package," Mom said casually. "What if it's Emma?" Panic shot through me. What if she just shows up? Mom peeked out the window and smirked. "It's Claire." My stomach dropped. Claire, our neighbor. Talkative. Observant. And Emma's cousin. I rushed toward the stairs. "I need to change." Mom held out a hand. "She won't come in." But she already had. "Just returning your dish," Claire called cheerfully as Mom opened the door. I pressed myself against the upstairs wall, heart hammering so loudly I was sure it echoed. Every click of Claire's heels on the floor felt like a countdown. "Is someone else here?" Claire asked. I thought I heard a girl. There was the briefest pause. "Just my daughter visiting," Mom replied smoothly. My breath caught. "Daughter." Claire laughed. "You never told me you had a daughter." "She's shy," Mom said lightly. Claire's footsteps moved closer to the stairs. "I'd love to meet her sometime." "Another day," Mom said quickly. The door closed. I slid down the wall, my legs weak. "Daughter?" I whispered when Mom came upstairs. "It slipped," she said, but her eyes said otherwise. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, the version of me in the mirror. The softness, the quiet confidence waiting beneath the nerves. And the word echoed. "Daughter." For years I'd locked that side of myself away. Now someone outside this house had unknowingly seen her, and the world hadn't ended. No outrage. No chaos. Just assumption. And strangely, that thrilled me. The next morning I hid inside an oversized hoodie, like I could shrink back into something simpler. Mom had already left, but she'd written a note. "Hydrate. Gorgeous skin needs maintenance. M." I smiled despite everything. Emma texted that afternoon. "Emma, hey babe, still on for tonight? Also, Claire told me something weird, lol." My chest tightened. "Emma, she said your mom has a daughter?" I stared at the screen. Typed. Deleted. Typed again. Me. No idea what she's talking about. Probably a joke. Her reply came almost instantly. "Emma. She said she saw her upstairs. Like a silhouette." My heart dropped. That had been me. "Emma, you're not hiding something, are you?" I froze. This was the moment. The line between truth and fear. Me. Of course not. A long pause. "Emma. Okay. See you tonight." Relief didn't come. Just dread. Later, Mom knocked gently on my door. "You told Claire I was your daughter," I said flatly. "I suggested it," she corrected with a small smile. She said you were lovely. Emma knows. The smile faded. What did you tell her? Enough. She sat beside me. Do you regret yesterday? I stared at the floor for a long time. No, I admitted quietly. That's what scares me. She rested a hand over mine. Maybe it doesn't have to. That evening, I got ready for Emma the way I always did. Shower, jeans, clean shirt. Normal. But when I opened my dresser, my hand drifted to the hidden drawer. The fabric inside waited.
Soft.
Familiar. The pale blue panties from yesterday lay on top like a silent question. My fingers brushed against them. And for the first time, I didn't know which version of myself I was getting dressed for.
The bra.
The dress.
The wig.
I stared at them for a long moment before shutting the drawer. Not tonight. Tonight I had to be Ryan.
Safe.
Familiar. The version of me Emma knew. The version that didn't complicate things. But as I closed the drawer, the secret felt heavier than ever. Emma showed up at 7 sharp, all black leather and smoky eyeliner, looking like she'd stepped out of a music video. She kissed me hello, but when she pulled back, her gaze lingered. What? I asked, forcing a casual tone. She narrowed her eyes playfully. Your skin looks suspiciously good. I coughed. Hydration. Uh-huh. We settled on the couch with a movie playing in the background. I couldn't tell you a single scene. Every shift of her body made me tense. Every glance felt like interrogation lights. Halfway through, she muted the TV. Okay, she said. Talk. My stomach dropped. About. You're jumpy. You keep acting like you've committed a felony. I'm just tired. Ryan. She studied me carefully. Claire said your mom was really serious about that daughter thing. I swallowed. She said she was petite. Long hair. Kind of looked like you. The room felt too small. I couldn't tell her. Not yet. So I did what I always did when I felt cornered. Do you trust me? I asked quietly. She blinked. Yeah. Then can you not push this right now? A long pause. Okay, she said finally. But the silence that followed was different. Heavy. Fragile. After she left, I stood in front of my mirror again. The blue dress rested over the chair, folded neatly, like it was waiting. I told myself I wasn't staring because I wanted to wear it. I was staring because I was afraid of how much I did. The next day felt hollow. Mom was out at a spa day with her friends. Emma hadn't texted since the night before. I tried distractions, TV, video games, cereal straight from the box. Nothing worked. It felt like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The pressure kept building. That pull toward the reflection I'd seen. Toward her. By 2 in the afternoon, I stopped fighting. The drawer slid open. This time, there was no hesitation. The dress glided over me like it belonged there. The bra, the soft padding, the wig, each step easier than the last. Familiar. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a disguise. I saw myself. Not Ryan pretending. Her. My posture shifted naturally. My expression softened. My eyes looked brighter, alive in a way they rarely did otherwise. At Mom's vanity, my hands were steadier. Foundation blended smoothly. A hint of contour. Blush. A subtle glow. When I picked up the mascara, I paused. I remembered how Emma would lean toward the mirror, one eye closed, murmuring, "This is where the magic happens." I smiled faintly. "This is where the magic happens," I whispered to my reflection. 20 minutes later, I sat on the couch with my legs crossed neatly, the dress draped perfectly, the wig framing my face. I didn't feel like I was performing. I felt like I was breathing. Then, the front door clicked open. My entire body locked. "Hello." Emma's voice floated inside. "Ryan." Panic detonated in my chest. I jumped up, heels catching awkwardly. I reached for the wig, trying to pull it free, but the clip snagged in my hair. Too late. She stepped into the hallway and saw me. We froze. Her eyes widened. My mascara stung as tears threatened. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Emma, I can explain." She lifted her hand, not to stop me, but like she needed a second to process what she was seeing. I knew something was off, she said slowly. I just didn't think it was this. I didn't want to lose you, I blurted. Her gaze moved over me, not angry, not disgusted.
Confused.
Curious. Is this who you are? She asked quietly. The question hovered between us. I don't know, I admitted. But I think she's part of me. She stepped closer. I flinched, but instead of pulling away, she reached up and fixed the loose wig clip still clinging awkwardly to my hair. You smudged your mascara, she said softly. A shaky laugh escaped me. I wasn't expecting company. I wasn't planning on coming, she admitted. Claire wouldn't stop texting. I needed to see for myself. Do you hate me?
No, she said.
But I need to understand. We stood inches apart, perfume mixing in the air. I don't even have a name for her, I whispered. Then tell me about her. Emma replied gently. She didn't leave. We sat at the kitchen table, me still fully dressed, hands folded nervously in my lap. I expected anger. Accusations. Instead, she studied me thoughtfully. You look beautiful, she said at last. The words hit like a shockwave. Don't say that unless you mean it. I wouldn't. I swallowed. It started as a stupid bet with my mom. Seems like it turned into something bigger. I looked down at my hands, the soft curve of my nails, the way they rested more delicately than usual. It's not about the clothes, I said quietly. It's about how I feel when I'm like this. Emma reached across the table, taking my hand. Then maybe, she said carefully, this isn't about hiding anymore. And for the first time, I realized the scariest part wasn't being seen. It was being understood. I was only supposed to wear one outfit. One day. That was the deal, I said quietly. And now? Emma asked. I stared down at my freshly painted nails, the soft gloss catching the light. Now I don't want to take her off. Emma leaned in slightly. Her. I nodded. She laced her fingers through mine. Then maybe she isn't a costume. Maybe she's part of you. My throat tightened. I've never told anyone. I didn't think I'd ever have to. I'm glad you didn't hide forever, she whispered. For a brief, fragile second, I felt understood. Then the front door opened. Mom walked in, a shopping bag full of beauty products swinging from her wrist. She stopped cold when she saw us at the table, me still dressed, Emma holding my hand.
Oh.
The silence cracked through the room. Emma stood quickly. I should go. Mom lifted her palm. Please don't. Emma looked at me. I nodded. It's okay. She sat back down. Mom set the bag aside and pulled out a chair.
Well,
this happened sooner than expected. You knew? Emma asked. She made a bet, I muttered, my voice carrying a strange mix of resentment and gratitude. Mom sighed. I caught him in my closet again. I could have shamed him. Instead, I offered a challenge. Emma blinked. A challenge. 7 days, Mom said calmly. He lives as my daughter. Fully. Clothes, posture, everything. No hiding. Emma turned to me, stunned. You agreed to that? I thought I'd quit by day 2, I admitted. Now, I don't know. It's terrifying, but it feels right. Like I've been holding my breath my whole life. Silence stretched between us. Then Mom leaned forward, eyes gleaming with dangerous inspiration. If you're ready for something bigger, I have an idea. I stiffened. Mom, no. There's a charity fashion walk this weekend. At the community center. Open participation. My heart began to pound. Absolutely not. Emma's brows lifted.
Wait.
You're suggesting she walks? Mom smiled. Not Ryan. My daughter. I stood abruptly. That's insane. You don't have to win, Mom said quickly. Just walk. Be seen. People would see me. Yes, she replied gently. They would. I looked at Emma, expecting horror. Instead, I saw admiration. You've already come this far, she said softly. What's one more step? This was supposed to stay private, I whispered. You can back out any time, Mom added. And if I don't do it? I asked. Mom hesitated. Then the bet ends. No more makeup. No more dresses. No more daughter. The words landed like a verdict. Could I go back now? After finally meeting the version of myself I'd buried for years? That night, I stood at the mirror again. Emma sat on my bed, watching quietly as I redid my makeup. "You're really considering it?" she asked. "If I don't," I said, meeting her gaze through the glass, "I'll always wonder." She smiled slowly. "Then let's make you unforgettable." The morning of the event arrived too fast. I hadn't slept. My nerves buzzed beneath my skin, equal parts terror and exhilaration. Mom was unusually gentle. No teasing. Just coffee and a reassuring squeeze to my shoulder. "You don't have to," she reminded me. I know, but I was going to. Not for her. Not for Emma. Not for the bet. For me. "All right," Mom clapped softly. "Let's make magic." The transformation took 2 hours. Emma handled my makeup with careful precision. Rose-toned shadows, a subtle wing, a soft highlight that caught the light when I turned my head. "You okay?" she murmured.
No.
She smiled.
Good.
"Means it matters." Mom had chosen the dress, pale lilac, off the shoulder, cinched at the waist with an elegant, flowing hem. Nude heels waited by the door, surprisingly comfortable. A delicate pendant rested at my collarbone. When Emma zipped the dress at my back and stepped aside, I faced the mirror. She was there again. Not a fantasy. Not a disguise.
Me.
"Ready, sweetheart?" Mom asked gently. The word didn't sting this time. I nodded. Before I changed my mind. The community center had been transformed. Chairs flanked a narrow runway. Music pulsed through speakers. Vendors lined the walls with pastries and handmade jewelry. Laughter and camera flashes filled the air. I could barely breathe. At the registration table, a volunteer smiled. "Name?" Mom looked at me. My throat tightened. "Riley," I said softly. "Riley Matthews." Emma squeezed my hand. "Beautiful name," the volunteer said. "You're number 12. Third in the final showcase. Head backstage." Backstage. As in now. Panic surged, but Emma leaned close. "Riley's got this." For the first time, I believed her. Behind the curtain was chaos. Models adjusting straps, reapplying lipstick, laughing confidently. Heels clacked against the floor. Mirrors flashed with movement. I suddenly felt like an intruder in someone else's world. I drifted toward a quieter corner, but I still caught curious glances. Some assessing, some approving. My pulse pounded in my ears. Number 10 walked out. Applause. Number 11 followed. Then, "Number 12, you're up." My stomach flipped. Emma caught my eye from the curtain's edge. Mom stood beside her, hands clasped tightly, proud and nervous all at once. The music shifted. I stepped forward. The lights hit me instantly, bright, blinding. The runway stretched ahead like a narrow bridge suspended in air. For half a second, I considered turning back. Then I straightened my shoulders. Chin up. Slow, deliberate steps. The click of my heels echoed in rhythm with my heartbeat. The dress flowed around my legs. I felt every movement of my hips, every shift of fabric against my skin. People were watching, but they weren't laughing. They were smiling, taking pictures,
Nodding.
At the end of the runway, I paused. I turned. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was pretending to be someone else. I felt visible. When I walked back behind the curtain, my hands trembled, but not from fear. From adrenaline. Emma rushed forward first, wrapping me in a careful hug. "You are incredible." Mom's eyes were glossy. "That's my girl." And this time, the word didn't echo with confusion. It settled somewhere deep in my chest. Riley. I wasn't sure what that meant for Ryan yet. But I knew one thing. She wasn't going back into a drawer. The girl before me stepped into the spotlight like she owned it. Applause swelled.
Laughter.
Admiration. She glowed under the lights, and in that instant, I knew there was no turning back. Whatever waited for me out there, I had to face it. The DJ's voice boomed through the speakers. "One more in our final showcase. Make some noise for Riley Matthews." Riley. Not Ryan. Not some guy in a dress. Riley. I swallowed and stepped forward. The light hit me like heat from the sun, bright, blinding, impossible to hide in. My heels struck the runway, and inside my chest something went still. The panic quieted. The noise faded. I walked, hips steady, shoulders back, chin lifted, the way Emma had taught me. The lilac dress flowed around my legs. The pendant at my throat caught the glow and flashed silver. Each step clicked clean and deliberate. For the first time in my life, I wasn't shrinking. Halfway down the runway, a voice cut through the music. "Is that Ryan?" Sharp.
Male.
My heart slammed against my ribs. A couple of laughs followed. Someone coughed. A phone lifted, camera pointed straight at me. Heat crawled up my neck. I scanned the crowd without meaning to. Confusion.
Smirks.
Curiosity. And then, third row, my father, standing stiff, jaw tight, eyes locked on me. I faltered. Just for a second. The light felt too bright. The dress too tight. My courage splintered under my feet. Then I saw Emma at the edge of the stage. Arms crossed. Eyes fierce. She shook her head. "Don't you dare." Beside her stood Mom, chin high, nodding once. "Own it." Air rushed back into my lungs. I took another step. And another. If they were going to laugh, they'd laugh at Riley, confident, deliberate, not at some frightened version of Ryan trying to disappear. At the end of the runway, I paused. Slowly, I let the necklace slip fully into view. A silver R. Mom's gift. A quiet declaration. When I turned back, the applause started small. A single clap. Then another. Then more. Not thunderous, but real. Someone stood. Someone else called out, "Go, Riley." My vision blurred, but I kept walking. Backstage, I collapsed into Emma's arms. "You did it," she whispered. Mom joined us seconds later, eyes shining. "You were breathtaking." I pulled back, voice trembling. He was there.
Who?
Emma asked. My dad. The drive home was silent. Emma held my hand the whole way. Mom gripped the steering wheel like it might shatter. When we turned onto our street, my stomach dropped. Dad's truck was in the driveway, waiting. For a fleeting second, I considered running.
Hiding.
Pretending this never happened. But something in me refused. Maybe it was Riley. Maybe it was exhaustion from hiding. I stepped out of the car. Heels clicked softly against the pavement as I walked toward the house. Dad stood in the living room when we entered. Arms crossed. Expression unreadable. His gaze traveled slowly. Dress, necklace, curls, glossed lips. His child. Then he exploded. What the hell was that? I flinched but held my ground. You think this is funny? Parading around like some joke. It's not a joke, I said quietly. He laughed harshly. It's a circus. She didn't force me, I replied. Don't lie to me, Ryan. It's Riley. The room went still. His eyes narrowed. Excuse me? My name is Riley, I said, voice shaking but steady. I'm not confused. And I'm not ashamed. You embarrassed this family. Mom snapped. Don't you dare. I raised a hand. Let him. I stepped forward. Do you know what it's like to be scared of your own closet? To feel wrong in your own skin? To hide every day because you're terrified your dad will look at you like you're broken? His face flushed red. I didn't choose this. I continued, tears burning. But it's who I am. And you don't get to erase me because it makes you uncomfortable. Silence. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Then he turned and walked out. The door shut behind him. I sank onto the couch, shaking. Mom knelt in front of me, brushing a tear from my cheek. I'm proud of you. Always. Upstairs later, I wiped away the makeup. The colors faded from my skin, but the feeling didn't. Even barefaced, even without the wig, I didn't feel like I was disappearing anymore. 3 days passed. Dad didn't come home. The house felt hollow, suspended. Then the knock came. I peered out the window. Aunt Cheryl, Uncle Mark, Grandma Nora. My stomach dropped. They pushed inside with tight expressions. We saw the video. Cheryl said sharply. What video? Mom demanded.
You.
On that stage, Cheryl snapped at me. In that dress. Grandma frowned. Uncle Mark avoided my eyes. You've humiliated this family, Cheryl continued. I didn't ask for your approval, I said softly. Your father called us crying, she shot back. He said he lost a son. Then maybe he never deserved one, Mom replied coldly. The air turned brittle. The front door opened again. Dad walked in. Cheryl brightened.
Good.
You can fix this. Leave, Dad said. She blinked. Excuse me?
Leave. Now.
They stared at him, stunned. One by one, they backed toward the door. When it closed, he turned to me. He looked tired. Not furious. Just tired. I don't understand this, he said slowly. I don't know what it means. But I watched that video. My breath caught. And I saw someone brave. Tears spilled freely now. You didn't humiliate me, he added. You scared me. That's on me. So what now? I whispered. He hesitated. Maybe we start by talking. He extended his hand. I stepped toward him, and my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hi, Riley. I saw your runway walk. We need to talk urgently. A lot of people saw it. You might be in danger. My blood ran cold. Mom noticed my expression. What is it? I looked up.
Dad. Mom. Emma.
All waiting. Then back at the message glowing in my hand. For the first time since stepping into the spotlight, I felt truly afraid.